This video is brought to you by MR Hi-Fi Reviews. We are driven to create high-quality, visually stimulating, and honest, informative reviews of personal audio, home audio, and technology, bringing you the latest and greatest news from the audio industry. Visit us at mrhifireviews.com. What's up, guys? How are you? Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Looks like we got a few of you out there in the chat. Looks like Blackie Grit, good to see you, man. Bitter Buffalo, good to see you. Martin, what's up, brother? Good to see you. Scott, what's up, dude? Elnrick, always good to see you, Professor. Mocha Mark, welcome, buddy. And yeah, so how's everybody doing this Friday? Let me hear how you guys are doing. Hopefully everybody's having a good Friday and has some good plans for the weekend. So we'll give it another minute or so and see if anybody else shows up in the next few minutes, and then we'll get rocking and rolling. So first off, I want to say thanks to AposAudio. AposAudio actually sent me the Topping E30 over for review, so thanks to them. And the Modi 3 Plus, I actually purchased myself with my own money, so I could make a comparison. Because what is a review without a comparison of some kind, right? Doesn't really work without something to compare it to. So I thought this would be a good stream to really talk about, you know, value DACS, because we talk a lot about expensive gear all the time, and I thought, you know, let's look at like 150 and under, and let's see what comes of it. Sleepy, what's up, buddy? How are you, man? Good to see you, Sleepy. Welcome, brother. Scott's doing all right. Sleepy, how y'all doing? Awesome, guys. So let me pull up my amp cam so we can take a peek. So we're gonna look at obviously these guys over here today. So they're about similarly the same size, honestly. They're not far off on their size. So as far as desk saving space, they're both pretty equal as far as that goes. We're gonna get into the overall features. Just let me kind of lay out how this is gonna work. So we'll do features. We'll do, of course, sound quality. And of course, you know, maybe who this DAC could be for, you know, the E30, or who maybe the Modi 3 Plus could be for. So sweet. Thank you, Sleepy. Thanks for the super chat, man. You should have fun at every budget. Good stream topic. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I have super chats on, so it's a great way to show support for the channel. And just so you guys know, that super chat money goes towards really two things, honestly. It goes towards hard drive space for filming my reviews, because that can get pretty expensive over time because I film everything in 4K. And then also it goes towards acquiring new gear so I can do reviews. So sometimes I have to buy stuff to review it. And then eventually what I would like to do, and maybe sooner than later, is I would actually like to give back some of that to the community with giveaways. So stay tuned for that. There may be something from today's stream I could do a giveaway on. Asgard 3. Yeah, hey CRS, welcome, man. Yeah, actually, brings me to a good point. So just to set up how I tested these two units and compared them, right? So I didn't bust out any measurement devices and check SYNAD and all that jazz. You know me, that's not my style. I'm going off of audible impressions, look and feel, how I feel that they, you know, work and function within my day-to-day use. That's how I do things. And, you know, I really looked at those things. So, but as far as what I utilized to compare, I don't know how many of you read the notes of the stream, but I used an Asgard 3 as the amp from Schitt Audio. And then I utilized the Focal Stellia, which I just got in, which are awesome. And we can talk about those a little bit later into the stream maybe. Let's see here. How's my audio before I get going full force into this? You guys tell me about the audio and let me know. Thanks again, Sleepy, for that super chat. Seriously, man, I appreciate it. Yeah, this is a good topic, you know, for a secondary system. Martin, like possibly, you know, maybe you have your high-end DAC for your main system that you really like and you're happy with, but one of these could be a great DAC for a secondary system, or maybe you're just starting out into the hobby and you've been running off of your laptop or your phone and you want to upgrade from there. These two units provide a good entry point into digital analog converters. Yeah, you can make mini stacks out of them too. That's absolutely right, Sleepy. Each of them has an amp that you can pair with them, but I don't have either of those amps. But you could make those stacks. Audio is fine. Good. What's up, John? Welcome, man. Sounding good. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. I always try to sound like a dream come true, especially for you, brother. Thanks, man. Yeah, Asgard 3 is a tremendous value. I absolutely agree. You know, I'm doing a full review of it and a few other Schiit audio products and how they compare. And man, the Asgard for $199 is just a stellar amp. I really actually enjoy it. Hey, what's up, T? Welcome, man. Thanks for coming. Thunderdome, 2 DACs enter, 1 DAC leaves. What's up, DP? Good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, Dave, what's up, man? Good to see you too. Awesome. Hey, Scott. So basically, for this kind of impression based, you know, these items are, you know, $149 and $999 respectively. I didn't go through and test it with every single amp. I kind of kept the testing minimized and just kept to 1 amp with each of these 2 DACs to kind of get a feel for them and 1 set of headphones. And I played through a lot of different music and just really got a feel for them. So if it was probably a more expensive product, you know, something that's $499 and up or somewhere around that range, I probably would have put it through multiple amps and multiple headphones. But for the sake of time, you know, I think this is going to be a good use case, considering the Asgard 3 is a $199 amp. So if you're spending about $100 on a DAC or $149 on a DAC, that might be a good starter stack for some people. However, you could easily utilize these in different areas, not just with those stacks. Yeah, you got a lot of DACs, Martin. Yeah, Sleepy. I mean, I think that the Asgard 3, it does sound pretty good. I don't think it's quite as good as the Lear 3, but it does some things better than the Lear 3 for sure. And I'll get into that more in my full review, but it's impressive for $200. Yeah, Martin says would be our 4th DAC. He's got a bunch of different DACs. Yeah, the XDSD. I love that little portable guy. That guy's awesome. Awesome. Okay, so let's get into it a little bit. And if you guys have any questions as we go, I'll definitely be checking the the chat as we go. And of course, if you super chat and I miss it for whatever reason, just hit me again with the question without the super chat, and I'll make sure and get to that for you guys. So first off, all thoughts and opinions are my own. Even though Apos sent me out the E30 for review, they didn't compensate me for this review. I don't get to keep this digital analog converter. It goes back to them after this. So all of my opinions are my opinions. So just to get that out of the way so you guys know. And like I said earlier, the Schiit Audio Modi 3 Plus I purchased for myself for this review purpose. So really, you know, like I said earlier, the purpose of this is to help somebody out that may be new to the hobby, or for somebody looking for a secondary system. And all my sound impressions were used through Roon, as well as through the Asgard 3, like I had mentioned, and the Focal Stellia. So you guys know that. I primarily just used Qobuz and Tidal through Roon and went through a bunch of test tracks that I like and enjoy, as well as I had a few test tracks that were sent over to me from you guys for the community, but the majority of those I'm saving for tomorrow's stream for the Felix Audio Echo version 2. So just so you guys know. So first off, let's get into some of the sound impressions. And I'm going to kind of glance over at some of my notes because my memory is, you know, it's decent, but I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So to me, the E30 sounds a touch warmer than the Modi 3 Plus, especially specifically in the low end and in the mid range. So vocals have a little bit more warmth to them than the Modi 3 Plus does. And they also sound a little bit more intimate. So the E30 is just a more intimate sounding DAC, okay? And I'm going to talk about stage in a second here. Let's see, and that includes vocals. So when I say the stage is more intimate on the E30, that also means the vocals are pulled a little bit closer to you. I'd also say that the E30 feels and sounds a bit more congested than the Modi 3 Plus, and it is a more musical, if you know that word that people use sometimes, it's a more musical kind of audible experience. And then the Modi 3 Plus, to me in my ears, is a more balanced sounding DAC, and it has more air and more space in between the notes, you know, instruments, vocals. Everything is a little bit staged, a little bit better, but you don't have quite as much warmth in the bass region or in the mid-range. So they are different. They do sound different, which going into this, I didn't expect to be able to hear a ton of difference, right? Because we're talking like $100 or $149, right? So, and they're both AKM chips, so you're gonna get that velvety sound from both of them. They both have a good velvety sound. They're not fatiguing. They're both very smooth and very enjoyable, especially for their price, right? But I didn't expect to be able to hear very much between them because I thought, you know, manufacturers probably, you know, they buy a chip, they throw it in a digital analog converter, and they're probably not spending a ton to tune that chip at this price point. So kind of what you know, what that chip is what you're going to get presented. But, you know, I did hear a difference, and they are different AKM chips, so that could be a big portion of the reason. Let me get into my notes here and see. Let me check the chat and make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, I do have the Asgard 3, Lyra 3, and Echo in possession. That is true, Sleepy. And that'll be, if you want to get into some of those questions, those will be really good for tomorrow's stream because we're going to be all about the Echo version 2 tomorrow. And I'll get into that deep with you guys on how they all compare. Yeah, that's going to be a fun one, Scott, for sure. Happy Friday, Brandon. What's up, dude? Welcome, my man. Welcome. Yeah, and I always am pretty good about sharing my test tracks too. And you know, I need to add to my website, mrhifireviews.com, a full dedicated area for test tracks, but I'll definitely share some of that with you today as I talk about it, as well as tomorrow for tomorrow's stream. Okay, cool. So we talked a little bit about the staging. The balance to me is or the sound overall throughout the treble region, the mids, and the bass is more balanced to my ears with the Modi 3 Plus from Schitt Audio, which I keep saying because YouTube does not like swearing, apparently. So I have to wait at least 20 minutes into a stream before I can maybe drop the other word, so I don't get my hand slapped since my videos are now monetized. So another thing to bring up, I tested both of these DACs, digital analog converters, strictly off of USB. So one thing I did notice is, you know, I read through the specs of these and they both measure excellently. So I don't do measurements. So I'm just going to take those measurements at face value and hope that, you know, each company is, you know, giving us the proper measurements. And they both measure exceptionally with exceptionally low distortion levels. And I would say though, the Schitt Audio has unison USB, which is well known throughout the audio industry to have, you know, one of the best performances for USB. So that could have maybe added to a little bit of a blacker sounding background with that unit. So that's one thing that I did notice. Let me look here at my notes. Okay, so basically they both sound good. And if you have maybe a brighter pair of headphones and you want a little bit more mid-range warmth and a little bit lower end warmth, then the topping E30 could be a great pick from an audible point of view. And then if you have maybe a set of cans that might be a little bit warmer, like say these Stellia or ZMF or maybe a Rad Zero that have a little bit more warmth to them, and you might want to, or let's say even a 6XX, because that might be more in line with the price of what you might be using, or a Sundara or something along those lines, you know, then you might want to look at, if you're looking for a more neutral signature from the sound, the Schiit Audio Modi 3 Plus, because it is a bit more balanced overall and it has a little bit better staging capabilities. So when we talk about synergy, and we've talked about it in the past, that's something to think about. So if you're trying to build a second area like Martin is, or set up his wife's area, then, you know, the question would be, okay, how am I going to be using this DAC? Is it going to be used with speakers? Is it going to be used with headphones? What is their sound signature like? How am I going to synergize? You know, if I already have a warm set of headphones, do I want to add a warm DAC with it, or a warmer tilting DAC, or do I want something a little more neutral? So, you know, there's no right or wrong answer on which one of these digital analog converters is right for you. It's just up to you. You make that choice on features, sound, and price. So we're going to get into that a little bit more, so maybe you can, you know, make a better informed buying decision. Let me just check here. Yeah, Grumpy, I didn't use the Modi with optical. I'm only testing this with USB. Yeah, I use the BTR3 and BTR5 as well, Martin. Hey, what's up, Leonard? Welcome, buddy. Good to see you, man. All right, cool. I think we're almost caught up. Yeah, so I mean, each of these does have optical. So we're going to talk about, you know, all of the features and the specs here in a second. In fact, we'll just get into some of these right now. So if a listener, let's round off the audible impression portion. So if a listener values a bit more mid-range and bass warmth, the E30, that might be the good option to go. If a listener values overall better staging to my ears and a more balanced sound, then the Modi 3 Plus may be a good choice for you, okay? So both are very good sounding, especially for their price range, and they both have AKM chips, which allows for a very velvety, non-fatiguing sound if you're familiar with AKM chips, which is also kind of cool considering AKM had a fire, yet these budget DACs are still available for a really reasonable price, and, you know, that's pretty awesome. All right, so let's get into what I think the bigger question of most people, how they're going to decide, because the sound signatures are different, but, you know, it's not so much so. When we're talking about digital analog converters, we're talking smaller differences in sound, but they are noticeable, okay? And sometimes some people say that you can't notice a sound difference between, you know, a $99 DAC and a $200 DAC, but they are noticeable with these two. But it's not night and day like if it was a switch from headphones or an amplifier. Okay, so when we're talking about, you know, besides price, right? So we have the Schitt Modi 3 Plus is priced at $100, okay? And then you have the topping E30 that's priced at $150. So there's a $50 difference in price right out the gate. So you have to ask yourself, if you're interested in possibly spending a little bit more, what am I getting for that extra $50? So we'll talk about that a little bit. So the inputs are on the Schitt Modi 3 Plus is a USB, Toslink, SPDIF, and a coaxial, okay? And then on the topping E30, you have a USB-B, optical, and a coaxial. And then outputs are both RCA, all right? Sample rates, because this could be a feature that's a big deal to some people, you have PCM 1644.1 to 24192 out of the USB, coaxial, and optical of the Schitt Modi 3 Plus. There's no DSD on the Modi 3 Plus, so that's something to keep in mind. Now, for the topping E30, you have DSD, and it's 64512 native, and then you have PCM which rolls at 44.1 all the way up to 768 kilohertz, which is 16 to 32 bit. So that's, you know, if you're really into that. I don't listen to any music over 192. Well, maybe there's been a couple times I have with the matrix-element-m-dac-amp, but it's not very often. The majority of music that I listen to is, you know, 192 and below, but you never know. More and more music is coming out, so that future-proofs you a little bit in a sense, so that could be a benefit to somebody if they wanted that capability to go up higher. And then THD is, I mean, these are so close. Like THD on the Schitt Modi 3 Plus is less than 0.0003%. And then on the topping E30, it's 0.0003%. So essentially they're measuring the same, okay? So from a measurement standpoint, you know, if that's your thing, these two pretty much measure the same. And then you have, as far as DAC chips in the Modi 3 Plus, you have the AKM 4490, which is a really respected, you know, AKM chip. And then you have in the topping E30, or excuse me, I keep saying E30. You have the AKM 4493 EQ. So those are the two chips that you have, and those are the main specs that you're looking at for those units. And I don't know why I said that. It is E30, but that's just a brain fart. Sorry, guys. And then included parts. So the accessories that you get with these, right? So with the Schitt Modi 3 Plus, you get a cable, a wall power supply, okay? And that's it. And then a cool sticker, all right? And then the topping E30, you get a remote, which is actually a beneficial feature. So this is something that I think some people will appreciate. So that is something to keep in mind. You get a DC cable and a USB cable, okay? Let me check the chat here and make sure. Yeah, that's a good call out. So the Last Rhino, hey man, welcome by the way, Last Rhino. Last Rhino says that Schitt just posted a stream saying their supply of AKM chips will last another 9 to 15 months depending on the model. They're working on converting to ESS. Yeah, I think everybody's got to learn how to implement the ESS chips really well with what happened with AKM. Thank you for that. That's great. That's actually great info. Yeah, I love the convenience of USB as well. And Unison USB is pretty dang good, and you know, so they implement it pretty darn well. All right, let's see. Sleepy. All right, good. Awesome. Yeah, Leonard, sometimes people do prefer to put their cash into amps and headphones, and the DAC can be the last piece of the puzzle. You can do it in whatever order you want and whatever you prefer. I do think that the DAC is more important than some people give it credit for, though. So that's why I always like to talk about them and focus on them along with, you know, the entire triangle, right? If you will, the headphones, the amp, and the DAC, because that's really what makes the quality of sound along with your source, which I kind of bundle in with the DAC, if you will. All right, cool. So we're pretty much caught up there. All right, so let's talk about what else you get with these. So you get a 2-year warranty from Schitt Audio and a 15-day return policy with the Modi 3 Plus, okay? And with the E30, you get a 2-year warranty as well as Apos 2-year extended warranty, I guess you would call it, and a 45-day return policy. So standard, I think standard on the topping E30 is 1 year, but if you buy it from Apos, links in the description, you actually get a 2-year Apos warranty. And then some of the standout features, you know, there's a lot of different features, and we could get into the nitty gritty of these too, but some of the standout features really in my mind were Unison USB for the Modi 3 Plus. That is, I mean, it's a step up than pretty much the majority of USB implementations in most DACs out there right now. The sound quality, I think, is a standout feature of the Modi 3 Plus. It sounds excellent. It sounds better than some DACs that I've heard that are more expensive. And then also it's made in the USA. So if you're interested in shopping in American made, there's that. Then some of the other standout features, and there's a lot of them really with the topping E30, is you get a remote which is very convenient, honestly, because if you're using this as a preamplifier, because it's also a preamplifier, that's nice to have. You have a touch display, which, you know, I could live with or without the touch display, but it's kind of nice. You can cycle through the different inputs right there by just tapping it, and it does tell you right on the front the you know, the quality of what you're listening to. I like that. That's kind of cool. So that's a standout feature in my mind. And then sound, it also sounds very good, especially if you like a more full mid-range and full lower end. And then it has DSD. So if you're a DSD listener, you have that capability built into it. And you also have DAC filters. And as I said before, a preamplifier. So you get a little bit more you can do. So for that extra $50. So it really, honestly, they're both great units. And it's really going to come down to, do you want to spend that extra $50 for those extra features? Or are you cool just spending the $99 and you're good with that? Or, you know, what's most important to you? Because if you're putting it into a system where a remote might be, you know, something you want, then the topping could be a good way to go. Or if it's just going to be used with a laptop on a secondary, you know, setup somewhere, then maybe it's the Modi 3 Plus from Schitt Audio. It's really a matter of what is going to be best for you and what kind of sound do you like. Do you want a little bit more well-balanced, better staging sound, or do you want something that has maybe a little bit more musical sound and a little warmer lower end and a warmer mid-range? All right. Let's see here. Awesome. Any other questions on these two? I'm going to give you guys a second to chime in. Do you have any questions about them at all? And then if you do, just drop them in the comments. So some of the tracks I used, let me just go through and kind of jam out some of the tracks I used to test. I'll check out some of these. Awesome. Just bringing up my Roon right here, right quick. So if you guys don't know, I put in every one of my videos, whether it's live stream or a review, I put my standard bass playlist that I utilize to do most of my reviewing, but I also expand up past that. So it's in the basically in the comments, or not comments, but the description of every single video. So if you're ever wondering what I use, that's one area you can find it. And then I do go beyond that, and that's what I need to add to my website for you guys that might be interested in a little bit more of what I use outside of that track list. But that track list has all types of different music in it, so it's not just focused in one genre. Let me just pull this up for you guys real quick. All right. So again, real quickly on these, you have, let me just pull this up real fast. So here's the topping E30, okay? Here's what it looks like. Let's talk about build real quick before we kind of go into another area. They both have metal. I mean, they both feel pretty durable. So, you know, I wouldn't say that one necessarily, at least from the chassis standpoint, might be a little thicker on the Modi, but they both have metal. You know, and they're both pretty small. So you could easily take one of these with you. Especially if you have like a laptop and you're traveling, you could pop it in your laptop bag. This was funny to me. I just don't know why this marketing, I just was reading this. It's just, I don't know. I think that's silly and probably not a good descriptor for a DAC. So here you can see some of the features of the topping that we just talked about. Oh, well, now it makes more sense. Probably who said that. Captain Measurement Man. And then we have the AK-4493. So here you see all the features of the E30. And this is cool. I mean, this is cool. You have a 45-day return policy, so you can check that out. And you have the 2-year warranty. So that's nice. And then if we look at the Modi 3 Plus, you got your specs right here. And they do have an upgraded multi-bit version of this, which based on my experience with multi-bits, I'm sure sounds much better than both of these. So it is more expensive. I think it's like $249 though. So you're about $100 more now than the topping E30, which might be the direction you want to go. If you're really looking for better sound, maybe that's the next level up. Shows you the DAC that we're talking about right there, the 4490. And then you got your tech specs, all of that. So just to show you guys that before we jam off of that. All right, move to this here. All right, let me check questions and see. Hey, what's up, Sheldon? Welcome, man. Good to see you. Let me see if I miss anybody else. Leonard, that's a great question, man. So how do they compare to more expensive DACs? I mean, they don't. I mean, the performance is far better. Any of the matrix-audio DACs that I have, staging is better. The speed is better, the impact is better, the transients, I mean, how quickly they can shift. You know, you do get what you pay for in most cases, and this would be, I mean, the next cheapest DAC that I have, I mean, unless you like refer to like a Dragonfly or something like that. I mean, this, or if you talk about the DAC in this guy, which is the iFi. See if I can get that to focus for you guys. This is a more warm sound, a warmer sound even. Well, I would bet it's kind of, I would say it's pretty smooth. It's similar in some sense than the topping E30, but there might be more detail, I think, in that Brew round chip than there is in the topping E30. What's up, Snow Ranger? How are you, man? Good to see you. Thanks, Sleepy. Appreciate you, man. Good question, Martin. It would really depend on your volume, or excuse me, your vision quality. I would say probably not, man. 12 feet distance, I don't think so, man. This is pretty small. So, I mean, you know, scale-wise, you can take a look. Here's my, can you see that? Scale, there's a Dragonfly red. So you get an idea of scale of the E30. I mean, maybe if you got like Cyclops superpower eyes and you can see, or like Superman vision, maybe at 12 feet you could see. It's possible, but probably not. I think this would be better maybe like at a desk for viewing, you know, volume levels and such. Let me just look here. Dynamics of the two DACs, that was a question I think I saw there. The dynamics, I think you have a tighter dynamic, you know, like a tighter punchy sound from the Modi 3 Plus, but you have maybe a more overall, like I was saying, quantity of, you know, especially like when a drum hits or, you know, a bass line, an electronic track, you're getting more quantity, but you might be getting a little better, tighter impact and precision and quality in the Modi, and you get more quantity in the E30. So, yeah, I think 12 feet's a no-go. Yeah, Sheldon, I got to go pick that up. So I got a text from FedEx saying it's ready to be picked up. So the new amp, I was supposed to get 2 new amps today. I was supposed to get a top secret amp from Justin from Amps and Sound that is, I'm going to be the first reviewer to hear this. So it's not here though. I'm bummed. It got delayed. I guess something happened with FedEx. It's stuck in Sacramento, so it's not going to get to me till next week. But I am getting the Burson amp today. So after the stream, I'll swoop over there and go swoop it up. All right, cool. So with that, I think we can open it up to questions for you guys on just overall, it could be any audio related question. So if there isn't something you want to ask about the Modi 3 or the topping E30, just fire away. And my overall conclusion about these, once again, they're both excellent DACs. I think that if you're into the features that the topping E30 offers, like the higher bit rates, the remote control, the preamplifier, it's worth that extra $50. If you're not into those features and it's not something you need, I think you get a slightly more balanced sound from the Schitt Modi 3 Plus. Either way, decent little sounding DACs. You have to spend more money, in my mind, to really step up past these to get better performance. Probably, I would say in the $500 and up range to start hearing even more difference. And all my DACs in the house are all, at this point, at least all my desktop ones are mostly all matrix-audio DACs. So they're mostly Sabre chips. So, and then I do have in the Jotunheim right now, and I did listen, and the Jotunheim multi-bit does sound better than the Modi 3 Plus, as one would expect. So, this is a sweet sounding implementation with a Jot, I think anyways. I think it's smoother, and I think it helps to really make the Jot, the Jotunheim more enjoyable sounding. So let me just look here. Yeah, it was a bummer that it got delayed, man. It was, but everything happens for a reason. It'll get here. Yeah, are you liking it, Sheldon? You just plugged yours in. You liking it so far? Or are you just letting it run music and do its thing right now? Looks like, Leonard, you tried the... Let me see. Let me add this to the broadcast. It says, you tried the topping D70 but couldn't find it any better than the CMA 400i using an AK4490. But the footprint of the E30... Yeah, man. I think really... That's a good point, Leonard. I think the footprint of the E30, the convenience, you could throw it in a laptop bag with you. There's some convenience factors of the E30, and you can always upgrade and go to bigger topping stuff if you wanted to. I owned the D90 for a very long time, and I really thoroughly enjoyed that DAC. I thought it was a very good DAC. Yeah, I didn't find it warmer, man. I didn't find it warmer, Sheldon. I actually felt the mid-range more warmer than the Modi 3 Plus. And you know what? And I almost questioned myself, too, after listening to that. And then I was like, well, that's, I usually would expect, something from Schitt in the lower end to be probably the warmer, more musical sounding one. But in this case, it wasn't. And I actually started doing some research and reading about both DACs, obviously, just to understand how they were implemented by the manufacturers. And even Jason from Schitt actually says if you're into a well-measuring DAC, then the Modi 3 Plus is the one. That's the one to choose. That's their measurement king or queen, however you want to call it. But so basically, I found that interesting. And then he even says, I believe on the website, that he feels that the Modi multi-bit sounds better. However, it doesn't measure as well. So if measurements are your thing and your number one priority, then the Modi 3 Plus, according to Schitt, is the way to go. And the topping stuff always measures well for the most part. So if measurements are your primary thing, you're generally pretty safe with a good measuring devices. Yeah, Grumpy. So the next step up, we were just saying, I think, and welcome, by the way, love your stands. The next step up would probably be the Modi multi-bit, or let me pull up and I'll show you real quick. I'll bring up this screen so you can see. So if you were going here and you were looking at the other DACs, you could go to the Modius if you wanted to go with Schiit Audio, and now you're getting balanced. So you're getting actually something both DACs don't offer. So $50 more does get you into a fully balanced DAC. Okay, so there is something to be said about that. And let's look and see the specs on this. So you're still getting the Unison USB, which is fantastic, and you're getting an AKA 4493. So the same DAC chip, I believe, that is in the topping E30 is then in this one. And then if you're looking at topping to see what your next viable upgrade would be, let's take a peek and see real quick. Let's do this. Let me move this screen so I can see what I'm doing here. Let's go to DACS. Categories. DACS. So here's your lineup of topping DACs. So if you're wondering what you could upgrade from. So you got the DX7 Pro. That's a DAC amp combo unit. And then you got a topping D50S. The D70. So you quite a few different options from topping you could go to. JTB, I think honestly, man, the Bifrost 2 is one of the, in my opinion, one of the best DACs under $1,000. So now I haven't done a head-to-head comparison versus the Modius, so I can't tell you, in my opinion, you know, which one's going to be better sounding anyways, because I haven't compared them head-to-head. But the Bifrost is pretty awesome. And for a lot of people, it could be endgame. You might not need anything else. Hey, what's up, Senor? Welcome, man. Glad to have you. Always glad to have you, sir. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you. Let's see here. All right. Let me see if there's any other questions. Okay, cool. So Brandon has done some comparisons of the Modi and the Modius, and he feels that it is better sounding compared. And then, of course, you get the balance. So that's always great. Thank you for sharing that, Brandon. Awesome. Thanks, Leonard. Appreciate you, brother. Yes, definitely echo tomorrow. Okay, cool. So that would be your next step up, would be the Modius. And then after the Modius, you can go to the Bifrost. And this one I did own for a very long time, for quite a while. And this was my go-to DAC for quite a while until I started upgrading to the Matrix line of DACs, which one was a two-part reason for the reason why I did that. One, because I wanted the capability to have Roon endpoints implemented. So that was really important to me. So having Roon everywhere throughout my house is, I know, I'm a Roon fanboy, bottom line. I really am. So that to me was important. And then also the DAC chips, the way they implement their ESS DACs is far better than any other manufacturer I've heard so far for ESS. Except for my NAD. My NAD for my speakers, that's an ESS chip as well. And that one is extremely good implementation as well. All right, let's see. Cool, awesome, good, good, good. So these guys, I'll just give you a little teaser for this. These guys, if you are in, so we talked about the Radiance, but this is going to be one of my next first impression streams coming up next week. The Stellia, whew, the Stellia or something else. I don't want to give away all of next week's stream, but so far, very impressed with the Focal Stellia, like very impressed. You have a love-hate relationship with Roon? That's funny. Yeah, I wish it was I wish the lifetime was a little more affordable. Not that it's not a good value for somebody that's really into it, but you know, if I could save a little money, that'd be great. All right. So any other questions on the topping E30 or the Schitt Modi 3 Plus? Other than that, then I'm going to open it up to you guys. Any audio related questions in general, and I'll let you guys fire those away, and then we'll probably close this up at about an hour if we don't have any other questions. And oh, don't forget to smash that like button for me, guys, if you can. Greatly appreciate it if you would. We got 13 likes on the video, so a little bit more, since there's 30 people watching, would really be helpful for the video. Much appreciated if you could. Hey, that's a good question, JTB. Yeah, man. So we're going to talk about that some tomorrow with the Echo stream. But yeah, I think that Focal headphones do play well with some tube amplifiers, but not all, right? So, you know, I'm going to get into that a little bit tomorrow. The Echo is kind of rated at 80 ohms and up, but you can push the boundaries a little bit with the Clear MG because it's rated at 55 ohms, but I had a more difficult time kind of pushing the boundaries with the Focal Radiance, and the Focal Stellia is kind of like hit or miss depending on the track. If it's a real bass heavy track, I think there's a little too much distortion and bloom in the lower end based on the impedance mismatch. But if it's not a bass heavy track, then it can actually do some pretty cool stuff with like the mid-range and kind of give you that more holographic sound. But I think you're safer, you know, with like a pendant. The pendant, you can run it off the low Z 8 ohm, and you can get some pretty great sound out of Focal headphones that way. Or you could go with the Lear 3, which is a hybrid, and that's gonna be fantastic. Actually, sounds fantastic with a Stellia, and all of the Focal headphones really. So you just gotta be careful on what you choose. As far as, I mean, obviously you're not going to put a, you're not going to do a bottlehead crack with a pair of Focal. You know, those are rated for 200 ohms and up, right? So you're going to get some pretty major impedance mismatch, and you're going to hear some not such great sound. But what is cool about the Focal line, and something probably I never really maybe gave Focal credit for early on in my journey, was that they're so easy to drive. Like, I can just plug any of the Focal headphones directly into a Dragonfly, a BTR5. I don't know if you can see that because it's black. Might be a little harder to see. You know, a BTR5. Well, of course, this guy's got more than enough juice, obviously. But also just, you know, the Matrix line, the amplifiers are designed for low impedance headphones. So I've been researching those a lot too, and thinking, you know, well, did they do this for a reason? Maybe they were trying to save some money, possibly, or maybe they just had that in mind, is to utilize their amps to be used in the amp portion to be used with low impedance headphones, which is what they say in the description of their product. So, you know, whether that's IEMs or, you know, your 32 ohms or 35 ohms or 55 ohm, you know, headphones, and they sound fantastic with those. So Focal has some pretty cool strengths in that sense, and they do still run with tubes as well. You just got to make sure that the tube amplifier is rated for around 32 and up. Nice, JTB. You got the Lear 3. Congrats, man. What tube are you gonna run with it, or tubes? Have you started rolling any tubes yet? Oh, Johnson. That's an easy answer for me. I'm gonna see how well my viewers know me. You guys tell me what you guys think. All my audio friends out there, what do you guys think for Marcello? Me, Utopia or Stellia? Which one am I gonna choose? Let me see. Hey, what's up, Ray Rod? Good to see you, man. Welcome, buddy. Welcome. Yeah, and Scott, some people do prefer the Radiance over the Stellia. You know, it's just a matter of preference. For me, I'm gonna I'm gonna wait and tell you. I'm gonna hold that thought because I need to do more side by side comparison with them. But I enjoy them both. Let me put it to you that way. I enjoy them both. Is anybody gonna throw a guess at if I would prefer the Utopia or the Stellia? Yeah, Ray Rod got it first. Stellia, absolutely. Brandon, Stellia also got it. Elric, yeah. Aeolus is my first love, man. I'll never forget or give up my Aeolus. That is my first love in headphone. Well, actually, it was the 6XX and then the Aeolus. Yes, you got it, Snow Ranger. Stellia would be my choice over the Utopia. Now, the delay is so funny. Now all these comments are like... yeah, definitely a Stellia. The Stellia's got a warmer, smoother sound than the Utopia. And the Utopia is magnificent in some areas, but there was a little bit of a... I think it's a peak for me in the upper mid-range or lower treble that kind of could make some vocals sound a little nasally. And also could become a little bit fatiguing. However, with the proper tube amp, maybe I just didn't find the right synergy. I could have gotten more out of the Utopia, which is probably what I needed to take more time and do, but I had them for a limited time because they were on a loan tour. Yeah, JTB, I mean, the tube rabbit hole is a real thing. Like, it's a real thing. And they can get very expensive. You know, we talked about that on our awesome stream with Tyler and the professor. You can end up spending as much on tubes as you can on the amp. So it is a rabbit hole that you can go down. But I think the professor said it really well the other day on our Discord. Let other people roll the tubes for you. You know, go get those impressions. Talk to people you trust. Learn about overall, you know, what's the deal with the different tubes. And then maybe buy them. You know, that way you're not spending $500-600 in tubes only to find out that you don't like them and now you got to resell them. So that's kind of one of the benefits of having more and more friends in this audio habit. And in this community, there's a lot of loving people that would be happy to share, you know, their findings, whether it's on Discord or on the forum. And soon I'm going to have a membership area of MR Hi-Fi reviews, which we'll be able to interact with each other right there. So we'll have something too there. Yeah, man. Sheldon, yes, we're going to talk about this tomorrow, but the Clear MG on the Echo, it's banging, man. I like it a lot. I mean, it's not going to be for everybody, but I like it a lot, you know, but I do prefer at times a bit more oomph from the bass and the mid-range. So it does something pretty special with that combo. So, and it's right at the edge. It's right at the edge. Like if they were the 35 ohm impedance of like the Radiance or the Stellia, I'm not so sure it would be the sound that you're getting with it. But Asgard 3 plus SMSL SU8. Yeah, you like, man, I love the Asgard 3, but the SML SU8, man, whew, I don't know. That DAC gives me PTSD. That DAC gives me PTSD in the audio world. I just had a really bad experience with that DAC for the longest time. You know, so I just never, if anybody asks, Marcello, do you recommend that DAC? I just never can, just because I personally had not good experience audibly with it. But I could see how putting it with the Asgard 3 would probably help out a lot, because that's a really forward, has a bit of a glare to my ear. Sweet, Ray Rod, you get the Virte closed tomorrow. What did you get? I can't remember. What wood did you choose? That's big news. Yeah, congrats for sure. Anything ZMF, when you get a ZMF, man, it's a pretty special day. Anytime you can get a ZMF. These are beautiful. I gotta finish this review. It's been a long time coming, this review, and I put a lot of. What is unique about this review is I will have compared the Verite Open to so many different flagship headphones when this review drops. So it won't be the first of all reviews that I dropped, but it will have the advantage of knowing how the Verte compares to so many different flagship headphones, which I think is cool. And I mean, if you're waiting to know whether or not I like it or not, I mean, I actually do love it. So, spoiler alert. Let's see. So what wood did you get though, Ray Rod? Or are we on a delay still? We might be a little delayed. Hopefully we're still, yeah, there it goes. Okay. Let's see, what other questions do you guys have? We can go for a few more minutes. You have any more questions on different gear, audio gear? I mean, obviously we're gonna have a full echo stream tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific time, Los Angeles time zone. Oh, sweet. You got the Monkey Pod with a 2K copper cable. Yeah, man, you're gonna love that. I can't imagine you're not gonna not love that. Congrats, man. That's gonna be dope. What are you gonna pair with them amp wise? What's your amp gonna be with those, Ray Rod? The Verte Close is pretty well loved by the majority of people I've talked to. Johnson, what's my take on the Empyreans? Well, I have a full review that I'm going to drop on those, but I will give you, just since you asked a question, I'll give you a brief answer. I won't go into super detail because I think I'm going to leave that for the review, but I enjoyed the Empyreans with certain genres of music. I don't think they're perfect for every genre of music. I think they have some issues, but most headphones do have some issues, but I loved them for one specific genre, and I could see owning them just for that one genre. So that's just a little hint about the way I feel about them. I also think they're one of the most comfortable headphones and well-designed headphones I've seen. But you know, they're very divisive. You know, a lot of smack talking on HeadFi was happening in the last week because somebody drops a review and doesn't like them. You know, one person drops a review and they like them, and then you've got like one guy chiming in, trying to get in a fight with a guy that dropped the review that doesn't like him, saying that, oh, you don't know what you're hearing. And it's just ridiculous. Like, everybody should be entitled to their own opinion and, you know, let people have their opinion on gear, and don't hate on somebody because they don't agree with your opinion. Like, that's just silly. It's childish, you know? Just act like an adult. That's my thought process, maybe because I'm a little older. But my thought process is, you know, respect everybody's opinion as long as it's not a hateful opinion, you know, or it's hurting people in a way, right? But if it's saying you don't like a headphone, well, okay. You're going to find somebody else that does like that headphone. So what does it matter? Why fight about it? You know, I was tempted to drop my review. I was super tempted to drop my review, though, because there was like 90 people looking at that HeadFi thread last week. And I was like, man, I should just try to edit this as fast as possible and drop it in there, because then maybe more people would see the review and people would be like, oh, cool. You know, he feels this way and that person feels this way. Everybody's going to be different, you know. And then there's also the synergy factor, right? So what are they using it with? What amp? I think... Hey, Brandon, thank you so much, man, for the super chat. I appreciate you, man. That helps. Hard drive space, and that goes towards my acquisition of new review gear that I can bring in. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Oh, man, you rock, dude. I appreciate you, and I love your Vader icon, too. That's awesome. You rock, brother. I appreciate you so much. Yeah, JTB, I mean, for the majority of the times, we'll talk about this more with the Echo Stream, but for the majority, to me, I really like the DAC that is in the Element X, because it's an extremely neutral, well staging, well imaging, not fatiguing, very fast digital analog converter. So the X Saber Pro would be the same for the most part, right, without the amplification portion. And I like that when I'm reviewing gear too, because, you know, let's say if I was using a Bifrost 2, which I was using for a long time reviewing gear, well, that can skew your impression a bit of sound, because it's not necessarily a fully neutral DAC. So the the matrix-element-X I feel is pretty darn neutral. And so I get a really good feel for what the headphones are doing as well as what, you know, the amplifier is doing. So. You know what? Oh yeah, Rayrod. Duh. My bad, dude. Mogwai OG with the Jupiter caps. Sorry, I didn't. I need more sleep apparently. Jot 2 versus Lear 3. Yes, Snow Ranger. There is a video coming on that, brother. Absolutely, man. Yes, man. I was reaching out to Schitt Audio for the longest time, trying to get any gear to review, and they were just so bombarded. And the gal there that was helping me, she's so sweet, she's so awesome, like it was so patient with me and putting up with me. I was probably emailing them every couple of weeks, and you know, eventually I just bought some stuff. I'm like, well, you know, I've gotta, people want to hear some stuff, I want to hear some stuff, and I want to put some stuff out. So I ended up just buying the Asgard 2 and buying the Modi 3 Plus, and I was like, okay, I'll review these, and you know, I'll compare versus the Lear 3 with the Asgard 3. And then I emailed her, and she's like, yeah, I can get you a Jotunheim now. And so she sent me that out. So yes, my intention is to do you know, a really cool Schitt amp review. So I think you guys will dig on that one. Later, Brandon. Take care, brother. Thank you again. Have fun at the game. I mean, to answer that question, I think they're both very good amplifiers. Let me see, Jot 2 or Lear 3. So you get the balance with the Jotunheim 2, which is kind of cool, but you get a little bit of that tube harmonics with a Lear. So I think that they're both good for different reasons, both enjoyable. Hey, what's up, Costa, man? Welcome. You're late, but you're here, so it's all good. Let's see. Lennon Ready, what DAC do you prefer for focal radiance, or in general for focal headphones? Okay, so let me add that to the stream for anybody else. Hey, Scott, thank you so much, man, for the super chat. Ah, dude, you rock, brother. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for your support. That helps hard drive space right there and more gear acquisition. I appreciate you, dude. Thank you for joining the stream. Lennon, we'll get back to your question here. So if you already have a THX 789 and a Rebel amp, what would you pick for your DAC? Well, okay, so I don't think great question, Lennon. I don't think the focal line of headphones, in my opinion, for my preference, which is kind of like a slightly warmer than neutral sound signature. And then sometimes I like a real warm sound if I'm just in a mood, right? But for the most part, I'm kind of around a touch warmer than neutral is what I prefer. So I didn't really like the 789 amps with focal headphones. I don't really like 789 amps with the majority of headphones, to be really honest with you. Sometimes, you know, the THX amps can pair better with a darker headphone, but that wouldn't be my first choice for 99% of headphones that I listen to. So as far as DACs, I think you could do well with a Bifrost too. Would be a good DAC for some of the focal line. I think this X-Saber Pro or the matrix-element-X or the matrix-element-M, or shoot, I've even been listening to the i3 Mini 3 Pro from matrix-audio. That's my bedside rig, and it has a balance out, and I can plug in any of the focal headphones I have just directly into that, or I can pair that up with a CTH tube hybrid or the Lear 3, and I enjoy that. So I think for me, if you have a set of headphones that you like the sound on and you have an amp that presents where you're going, then sometimes the DAC, in my mind, is just give me the best performance that's not going to color the music too much one way or another, and I can focus on the headphone and the amplifier to kind of get that sound. Especially if I'm reviewing gear, in a lot of ways that's important because it allows me to really calibrate sound for you guys. If you're asking me what was the sound of this headphone or what was the sound of this amplifier, well, I can rest assured pretty much that the DACs I'm using for review purposes are pretty even keel and they're not going to color the music one way or another. Doesn't mean I don't like more colored sound or a more euphonic sounding DAC, like the DAC in the Cord TT2 is brilliant. I thought it was just absolutely brilliant. So hopefully I answered that question for you, buddy. But I would say for the Radiance, a more neutral DAC. So let me answer that a little bit more, because the Radiance has already got some lower end emphasis, right? It's probably the bassiest of all Focal headphones. So I wouldn't necessarily maybe take and bloom that up with more bass on top of it. So a more neutral DAC. And I haven't heard the Rebel amp, but I've heard good things about the Rebel amp, and I would imagine that's a probably pretty fun amp with the Radiance. The very sexy amp next to the Echo. This guy here, that's the ZMF pendant. Yeah, that is the ZMF pendant, Ray Rob. Ivan, really, man, I haven't heard that. That must be something new that they added about their return policy. If that's true, yeah, that is kind of lousy, man. I've never heard anything about that. I'll have to reach out to them and ask them about that. Oh, Jay, man, thank you for the super chat, brother. I appreciate you. That really, dude, that huge help. Seriously, Jay. That allows me, like I said, more hard drive space and the ability to get more gear in to review for you guys. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you even coming and helping me out, man. Thank you. Thank you for the bones, brother. Thank you for the bones. Hey, what's up, Stefano? Good evening, brother. Good evening. How are you? How's everything over there in France, right? France, I believe. Hopefully all is well in your world. I know you're working crazy schedules, so it's always good to see you, man. All right. And don't forget to smash that like button, guys. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, do me a favor and smash it for me. And don't be afraid to share these streams. So if you have like somebody that's new to the hobby and you think, hey, you know, they don't know the first thing about digital analog converters, but one of these two that we talked about, the Topping E30 or the Schitt Modi 3 Plus, could be a great introductory DAC for them. You know, don't be afraid to share this video with them. It helps me out and it might help them out. They might get some information out of it. So we'll take a few more questions and then maybe we'll wrap this up, guys, unless you guys want to chat about any other audio related stuff. Thanks for smashing those likes. I saw those likes smash all at the same time. That was cool. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Yeah. Blackie Grit. I mean, it's not easy right now for manufacturers to keep up with the amount of demand, right? You know, you have production issues happening all over the world with different parts, and then, you know, with COVID-19 and trying to get stuff made in a safe manner, delay and wait times are definitely increased pretty much everywhere with almost every industry. So it's hard. I know. I get it. I want everything now too. I ordered a Burson amp. I remember when headphones.com and Taryn announced it started carrying it, I said, I got to get one of those. I got to get one of those because I want to see if that, you know, how it compares to all the other solid state amps that I've heard, because I prefer tubes 99% of the time, but I really would like to find some more solid state amps that I can really vibe with and really enjoy while reviewing. And, you know, I've read a lot of good stuff about the Burson. So, but I mean, that was like, when they first announced it, it was like months or maybe a month, and then a few other weeks. I don't know. Maybe Sheldon will be able to remember exactly when. And then they have to ship from Australia. So it's really hard for manufacturers and distributors to keep up right now. So you almost got to jump on stuff when you see it in stock, because you never know, it could be gone the next day. Awesome. We'll give another minute or so and see if you guys want to chat about anything else. Yo, what's up, Mark? You made it. You made it. Good to see you, brother. Yeah, man, you can catch it from the beginning. This is just a fun hangout, brother. Just a fun hangout. We kind of talked about some of the basics of how the the Modi 3 Plus from Schitt and the Topping E90 stack up. But then we went into some other audio stuff, headphones and other DAC related questions. And we're at this point in the stream now. If anybody has any audio related questions, it could be about those two units, or it could be just in general, or you know, what do you want me to see me review next? Like, are there some certain items you want to see me review? Drop me some ideas. Ah, thanks for the super sticker, dude. Ah, thank you, man. Thank you. Seriously, Mark. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you, man. That's awesome. The super stickers are cool. I like that. It's funny. I like that. That's funny. He's like a bird. That's my daughter would love that, man. That's cute. Yeah, man, Jay, I like the clear. I like the clear MGs. You got the pros, sweet. The pros are sexy looking, man. I mean, even the standard MGs is sexy, but the black and red is it's like a little more ninja. It's dope. I like it. I went with the other one just because everybody had already had the black and red already and was already reviewing that. So I figured, I'll go show people what the other ones look like. So I like them a lot. I really do. I've had more time with them now, and they've grown on me even more. You know, and I think they're a very well performing Focal headphone. I know that there's been some people complaining about the difference between the Focal Clear OG and the Focal Clear MG. Like there's a little more spice in the treble in the OG, and maybe it's a little bit more dynamic, I guess, is the main things I've heard. And maybe off of audio memory, that is probably true off of audio memory, but it doesn't take away from how much I like the Clear MG. In fact, I think it's probably overall a more balanced sound, and it's probably a headphone I can listen to for even longer periods of time. And if I really wanted to have a little more spice in the treble, well, you guys know, synergize it, right? Stick it with a DAC that has a little bit more presentation in the top end, or you know, with an amp that's a little more neutral or a little more spicy. So yeah, Costa, you got the MG Pro too. Sick, man. Are you liking it so far? I love that there's so many people copping it and checking it out, man. It's pretty sweet. Oh, you've been waiting for the GSX Mini all day today? Dude, I have an amp that was supposed to be here, Mark, from Justin. Okay, this is like a top secret amp that isn't even available to purchase yet. I'm the first reviewer that's getting to hear it in the entire world, and it was supposed to arrive today, and like I'm gonna go pick up that and the Burson amp after the stream here in a few minutes. And then FedEx basically sent me a text saying, we have rescheduled your delivery, and so I'm not gonna get it till next week. So I was kind of bummed, but you know, that's the way it goes. Shipping, you know, FedEx and UPS is under they're under some craziness right now too, man. It's insane. Oh, thank you, Elnrick. Thank you for the super chat, brother. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. I'll see you on Discord, man. Have a wonderful day. I always appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Okay, Lennon had another question. Bifrost 2 versus the Topping D90. What would you pick? Okay, cool. So I do have a review coming that's going to talk about 3 different DACs in this category around that price range, right? Around the 700 to 1,000, somewhere in that range. But I'll give you my thoughts now since you asked. And that review is going to be a little ways in the making anyways, because I've got a ton of stuff that's already been filmed or still needs to be filmed. But I think they're both great, okay? And it's kind of similar to the conversation we had today, honestly. I feel like you have a bit more overall balanced sound out of the Bifrost 2 over the Topping D90, and you have a bit quicker impact and a little warmer sounding from the D90. So I think they're both good. I think where I really liked, if I can go to the music, because this is all about the music, where I really liked the Topping D90 is with electronic music. I felt like because it has a faster, you know, response or transient or impact, if you will, I felt like it did really well with electronic music. And where I really liked the Bifrost 2 was with vocals music that has like really beautiful vocals, and then also staging. Like I felt like the staging was more three-dimensional and euphonic sounding from the Bifrost 2, whereas the Topping D90 was more of like that wall kind of staging. It was like there's like good spacing and imaging, right, on the Topping D90, but I felt like the staging didn't, like the depth wasn't there quite as good as the Bifrost 2, and you know, the width maybe was maybe a little less on the D90. But I think that's kind of what you find with a lot of those AKM DACs for the most part, you're not finding necessarily, even like the RME, like headphones.com started carrying the RME, and that is an AKM based DAC with some really cool features. But I think most people would tell you that it's not necessarily the widest staging DAC. So the Bifrost has some pretty cool staging to it, and it has really great overall tonality. So they're both good. It just depends probably on what you're going to listen to more so of. And then the D90 has features that the Bifrost doesn't, and vice versa. So the Bifrost 2 has the Unison USB, which we kind of talked about today. And the benefits of Unison USB is you're going to have a cleaner signal being output from, or coming in from your computer. So that's a huge benefit. And then the Topping D90 has Bluetooth. So, if you're not in super analytical mode to where you want to listen analytically and you just want to hear some music and just kick back, and maybe you had yourself a little whiskey and you don't want to be like at that same area and you just want to Bluetooth in, well, you got Bluetooth. So to answer your question, it's what's best for you. I sold them both, but that only reasoning for that is because I'm constantly trying to get more gear in, and I had kept those DACs for over a year. So generally with a DAC, I'll sit on a DAC if I purchase it with my own money longer, so I can really get a feel for its sound signature. But now I've kind of gone to a whole new strategy with my DACs that is completely different than what most people would think. And it's really all the same manufacturers, matrix DACs. They're all Roon endpoints. They're all Saber chips. None of them really sound colored. They're all pretty neutral. So I can, like I mentioned earlier in the stream, I can really get a good idea for what the headphones and the amplifier are doing. Yeah. I mean, the D90 is a good DAC, Lennon. And if AposAudio has it generally on sale quite often, or it's available on Amazon pretty regularly, and it's got that AKM chip. So if you don't want the Bifrost, the D90 is a great DAC. But it does have some things it does not do as well, and vice versa. But I mean, that's all audio, right? I mean, it's life in general. Some things are better for some reason, some things are better for others. JTB, how much can I not stand EQ? I mean, honestly, okay, here's my deal with EQ. I don't think there's anything wrong with EQ. So I think if you're into EQ, go for it, I don't like it as much as utilizing tone control, like from a Schitt Loki, or one of my favorite amps. You saw my review probably. If you didn't, you should go back and watch it, is the i5 Pro iCAN, because I just love that, because you had built-in dials that you could change the sound, you could add more bass, you could expand the stage and replicate like wider staging. I just loved that amp for that. I am a more hands-on kind of guy. Maybe, it's because I'm over 40, and maybe that's my generation. I'm kind of still the generation that still had analog, and the younger generation is more about, just doing everything through the computer. So for me, I really value being able to still do it that way. Do I use EQ? Once in a while. I like the EQ features built into Roon. I think they're really well done and very impressive. So if I was going to do EQ, it would be through Roon, but I generally don't. Because also from a standpoint of reviewing stuff for you guys, like if I'm reviewing a set of headphones, right? And then I'm saying in my review, well, but here's my EQ curve, and here's this. Well, I'd rather just tell you, like, what are my things that I thought were not as good about this, because I don't think all people are going to use EQ, and especially people beginning in the hobby are probably not going to use EQ. So I like to give you my honest take and opinion of what something sounds like without EQ. So hopefully that answers your question. I'm glad you're digging those, Jay. I think you're gonna find too, Jay, that the MG Pro, they just are very transparent. So, they don't really have they're pretty neutral sounding for the most part. They don't really have a flavor, if you will, a warm or a dark or a bright. I mean, they're energetic, and they have a nice open sound to them. They don't have a huge stage, right? What Focal has ever had a huge stage? Focal headphones are not known for big, sound stages. They're just not. They're always a more intimate sound, but they sound super impressive. They don't give me listening fatigue, and vocals on them are pretty darn magical with the Focal MG. And then you can change up the sound by what you feed them. So definitely don't forget to tune in tomorrow if you own the Focal MG or the Focal MG Pro when we talk about the Echo that's right here, because we are going to talk about that specifically with the Focal MG and how those two kind of match up. And of course, many other headphones. I put them through pretty much every headphone that I have in that, for the most part, wouldn't have a massive impedance mismatch or a power issue. Yeah, it's always frustrating when they attempt to deliver and you miss it or something happens with UPS or FedEx. I know that feeling, man. I don't know the answer to that question, JTB, but I will say that if it says ships in 7 to 10 days, it's going to take at least that, in my experience. Take that for what it's worth. What's up, John? Welcome, brother. Good to see you, man. Thanks for joining the stream. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, Costa, you tend to... What do you... Now, that's an interesting statement. So it says you tend to enable EQ after 3 hours with the MG Pro headphones. What are you doing? Are you rolling off the treble a little bit? Are you giving yourself a little more warmth? What are you doing? And why do you feel the need to do that? I'm just curious, because I always like to learn. I'm all about the virtuous learning cycle of learning from each other, right? Yeah, Jay, I really do. Thanks, man. I mean, I really do believe that. I feel like it's a very neutral headphone across the board. And it's really going to pick up like what your DAC and your amp are doing. Yes, JTB. That is another thing about EQ that I definitely agree with. So you just end up messing with it a lot, right? Because you're like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then the next thing you know, you're out of being sucked into the music and imagining that Lana Del Rey is sitting on the couch next to you singing Sweet Nothings in your ears. Instead, you're like clicking on these little knobs and clicking on, the mouse and doing whatever you're doing to adjust EQ, and it pulls me out of the music. So I definitely do agree with that. That is one thing I also don't like about EQ, and why I generally will just use tubes to EQ. Oh man, Bitter Buffalo. Great question, dude. And it's not random. We're at this point of the stream that we're taking basically all audio questions. So we handled we took care of the business at the beginning of the stream on the two digital analog converters. So now we're just kind of taking questions. So I'll throw that back up there. Do I like the Aeolus off of tubes? I love the Aeolus off of tubes. The Aeolus off of tubes is in my opinion the way to go. I think it sounds, we're going to get into it more tomorrow, but I think it sounds great with the Echo 2. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. I think it sounds incredible also as well with the Bottlehead Crack. It sounds fantastic with the Pennant. It sounded amazing when I had the Nautilus in for review. It sounds pretty darn good with the Lear 3 as well. So for me, the Aeolus doesn't come into its own for my preferences. I always got to say that, for my preferences, until you give it some tubes. I always did enjoy it off of solid states because, I mean, the Aeolus is just a really great tuned headphone. I mean, I even listened to it on a THX amp, and I could find enjoyment out of the Aeolus, which is probably one of the few headphones I did. There was a couple others, but for the most part, the Aeolus is kind of one of those headphones that just sounds good off of a lot of different sources. But when you really get some magic out of it, I think is when you start getting tubes into the equation. And I mean, I think I said this on my last stream. If you ever look at Zach's like listening setup station over there in Chicago and how many tube amplifiers he has, I mean, it's so many. So that tells you something. Like, I think, he is, and it's a 300 ohm headphone, right? And they take so well to tube. So I feel like, Zach is basically letting you know by showing off his office and all the different tube amplifiers that he tunes his headphones with the consideration in mind that they're going to sound pretty damn amazing with tube amplification. So, all right, let's see. Okay, cool. Okay, you roll it. So you do roll it off a little bit, Costa. Okay, cool. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. Maybe so you could keep listening and take away a little bit, because maybe it was a little too much for you or something. So, the Cord Cutest. Trying to remember how much that is. Is that the one that's like $14.99? The Cutest. I'm trying to remember where that sits in the price bracket. I like Cord a lot, dude. Lennon, I think Cord makes fantastic. Everything I've heard from them so far has been excellent. They're not necessarily a neutral sounding DAC. They're a little bit more musical sounding, I guess, if you will, but there's still a ton of detail and really good staging, euphonic staging from the Cords that I've heard. So, I mean, if you have the money, that could be all you would need, possibly, unless your features that you want change. Yes. Blackie Grit. The Aeolus and the Elise is special. Like, if you haven't seen that review I just dropped with the Elise Mark II, I mean, I had them right there front and center of the entire review, because the Verite Open and the Elise Mark II and the Aeolus and the Elise Mark II and the Sennheiser HD660s and the Elise Mark II sounded fantastic. I mean, they were just a great pairing. Same with the Bottlehead Crack. Kind of this, they're in the same kind of, realm, if you will. And Echo too, for that matter. But the Echo to me is a little bit different than both. We'll talk about that more tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific time. Yeah, I think you're gonna love it, man. I really do. I think. What did you order the Echo too, Bitter Buffalo? I can't remember what you got. Or are you building a Crack? Or the Elise? Did you get the Elise? I don't remember. All right, $17.99. Thank you, Ray Rod. Yeah, I don't know if it's the exact same DAC, but I would imagine it's got to have some of the flavors. We'd have to really tear into the tech specs to look at it. But the TT2 is pretty endgame for most people if you really wanted just an all-in-one unit. All right, let's take a peek here. Oh man, thank you, JTB, man. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate all you guys do for me. Like, the supporting, just being here and chatting with me is huge support, and then dropping me a super chat to help me get new gear and pay for hard drive space. That's fantastic, man. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you, seriously. So maybe I can help answer that question for you. Saturite, kind of like meteorite, but with saturite. Saturite, maybe. Yeah, just get the one you like, man. Get the one that you like visually. I would say that the biggest thing with ZMF headphones, there is denser woods, right? So if you go with a more dense wood, you are going to probably have a faster transient and a quicker decay, more immediate, shifting in when transients and the music is moving. So like for me, I got these guys. Let me see if I can grab them without knocking everything over. What you guys can't see off camera that I'm reaching to is like just a whole nother rack with a whole bunch of other audio gear on it, amps and stacked, and just headphones. And I need a whole nother space for headphones at this point. But like this wood, let me see if I can hide my face. This wood is brilliant, man. Saturite. This wood is brilliant. It's got a really fast decay, man, because it's a very dense wood. And I heard Tyler's Verite Open, and that had a little bit slower decay. So these sound like even swifter. And so I love that. So for me, it just really depends on what you're looking for, because maybe you don't want a faster decay. So maybe you want to go for a wood that's a little less dense. But even Zach will probably tell you, be the first to tell you, just pick the wood that you like most first from a looks and feel perspective, because the difference in sound is going to be not huge. Okay, so you know, I don't know, but I'm kind of a limited edition guy. So like even with my Aeolus that I got, I'll show you the burl, so maybe that'll help you decide. I went with the burl just because I really love the pattern of the wood. So that's a limited edition. So I feel like for me, if I'm gonna buy a ZMF, I'm gonna go for a limited. And I know a lot of people are into the stabilized, but that I'm actually not, which is, you would, looking at my backdrops and all the colors and craziness, you would think, oh yeah, I would be into that. But I'm also just a really big fan of just traditional wood. I practiced martial arts for many years, and we used a lot of different woods and bokens and bows and hanbos and different staffs and Japanese martial arts. And I have different wood grains for each of those. And so I just like kind of wood the way it is, you know, and how it appears without maybe being stabilized. So I don't know. That's just my take on it. What do you recommend in the 2K range or less for a tube amp? Yeah, Jay, that's a great question, man. So, okay, I'm gonna put this one back on you and just pop this in. So, what do you want? Like, do you want a more neutral sound? Do you want a truly tubey sound? You know, what are you looking for? Do you value stage more? Do you value tonality more? And if you do, what kind of tonality? Do you want it to be a richer tonality, or do you want it to be more reference tonality? You know, and then do you value more dynamic? Do you value, what do you value more? And then I can give you a better recommendation. With the Arias, so the one thing to think about if you're looking at tubes, I had to look up the impedance of the Arias, but you probably would want any true tube, not like a non-hybrid, you probably want like at least a 2 or more taps to where you can plug in for different impedance ratings for multiple headphones. So I'm a really big fan of amps and sound stuff. I'm also a really big fan of i5, the Pro iCAN. But give me a little more info on like what your sound you're looking for, and then I can maybe kind of narrow it down a little more. Yeah, you're gonna build a bottle head crack? Man, bottle head crack is, I mean, you pick one up for like $300-400 with the speedball. Like, it's the build is very fun too. I did the majority of, or at least half of the build with a family member of mine, and then I got too swamped with doing reviews and he took over. But the build process is really fun. So you'll enjoy that too, man. And then we just share that bottle head. It just bounces back and forth between our houses. In fact, after the Echo stream tomorrow, and I filmed some B-roll with it and the Echo together, because they're kind of, you know, they're kind of a competing amp in some ways as far as price and sound, and they're both OTLs. I'm giving it back to him so I can go back to his house because he misses it, because it's just such a great sounding amp. Oh, thank you, Mark, again for the super chat, brother. Thank you, man. Appreciate you, dude. It says, hey, how do I get started with Roon? What do I need as far as a streamer or source? So far, I only use an iPad or iPhone DAC amp. Yeah, okay, cool. So, all right, so you're just like me, man. I started the same way. I just started with my iPhone, and and I went out, and then I started getting other DACs, and then I was plugging in, you know, like these annoying dongles and stuff like that, and all this other, well, I can't get it to focus, but you get the drift. There it is. You know, plugging these into the phone or to the iPad, and that all works, but there's just more cables being connected and more stuff like being set up. And I personally love, once again, I really love the matrix-element-x, element-m, the i3 Mini 3 Pro. Those all are Roon endpoints certified, and they're all very neutral sounding DACs. So you could do something like that. You could utilize a Blue Sound Note E2i around the $700 price range, but I'd rather see you spend a little bit more and get even the Matrix i3 Mini Pro. I think that's going to be a better overall quality product. You could go with, there's so many different types of streamers that you could use. You could also do like a Raspberry Pi unit into your DAC, so that way you had, you know, you could run it wirelessly that way. AposAudio. I'm not sure if you're familiar with AposAudio, but he has some great videos on Raspberry Pi and how to hook them up with Roon. But the main thing you need, man, is just, you know, a digital analog converter, and a way to stream that source basically into your digital analog converter or your computer, hooking them up together. So, but I do think it's worth it. To answer your question, I'm just reading that back here again. I do think it's worth it for sure. I mean, so much so that I swapped out all of my DACs and went with Roon endpoints for every single room. So my 2.1 channel listening speaker room has an NAD C658 streamer DAC with Dirac built into it, which is digital room correction. And then I have in this room that I'm in right now, my matrix-element-m-dac-amp, which is kind of like buried behind these guys because that's what the stream was about today. But you know, that's this guy right back here, Element X, and that is a boom, Roon ready. So good, love that one. And then next to my bed, I have one of their smaller units, and then I have in the TV room where I normally watch TV, and I have a couple really comfortable stressless chairs. Sometimes I don't want to watch TV, but I want to listen to music in one of those stressless chairs. I have the matrix-element-m over there next to one of those chairs, so I can just listen to music there. And so I'm able to just listen anywhere around the house with certified Roon endpoints. And even the Android TV is going to do AirPlay with Roon. So you have that as well. Pretty cool. I do think it's worth it, especially when you get into the multi-room portion of Roon. When you're using music in multiple rooms, Roon becomes even better. Or local library. Very good. Yeah, that's a good call. Blackie Grit also. Yeah, or a local library. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, they are very cool. Oh, thank you, John Thompson. Oh, man, you rock, man. John, you rock, brother. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Once again, that's hard drive space and getting new gear. And eventually what I like to do is maybe do some giveaways once in a while on the channel and try to give back, different gear that I get or review sometimes. Once I can get the channel a little larger and I can start figuring out ways to do that, I'm going to do that more and more. But thank you for your support, man. And also, that also gets me a coffee every now and then because I do love my coffee. Espresso as well. Yeah, Mark, I do love those ZMFs, man. The Aeolus were my first ZMF headphones I ever got. And I fell in love with ZMF, not just for the looks, but of course the sound. Their ZMF tonality to me is still the best tonality of any headphone. Sounds most natural to me. It says here, Jay, you value V-shape EQ. I'm just reading your comment, buddy. Hold on. You can feel that makes sense. The MG Pro, I don't know if I prefer SoundStage or not. Okay, I think here's the cool thing, Jay. So this is your only pair of headphones right now, I believe you said, and you're relatively new to the game, I believe. So the Clear MG Pro is a great place to start, or MG, whichever, I can't remember which one you said you got, but it's a great place to start because it's a neutral headphone that's not giving you too much of one thing or another while you try to figure out what you love. And it also is allowing you, in my opinion, to hear, or as you get better at training your ears, to hear the differences that certain digital analog converters bring to the table or certain amplifiers. So this is great in my mind because that's a good starting place for you. And then what you do is you add your next set of headphones, and maybe you go for, like, I think you said you might enjoy a more V-shaped sound. So then you would look at another headphone that maybe has a little bit more of a V-shaped sound, and you can go try that out and see if that does anything for you. Or you may find that I don't like that at all. And the cool thing is, if you take care of your stuff in this hobby, or whatever you want to call it, passion, or whatever, you can generally get a good amount of your money back, especially with certain manufacturers. Some manufacturers, you're not going to be able to get as much money back for your stuff because there's just so much of it available. But if you're careful and you take care of your stuff, you can always, trade, or you can sell it later and try something different. Yeah, and it sounds like if you want to really feel your music, I think I understand what you're saying. And in some ways, what I would like you to do is tune in tomorrow for the Echo version 2 amplifier first impression stream, if you can, Jay, because I think a lot of what you're saying, now I don't know if it's necessarily taking a full V shape, but a lot of the things you're hinting at and saying that you like, feeling your music, being pulled in, engulfed in your music, and I think off of tubes, the Clear MG Pro is going to give you some of that. So you may be able to just add that with some tube amplification. So tune in tomorrow if you can. If not, you can always ping me offline. MR Hi-Fi Reviews. I have an email there. Drop me an email, man. I always make myself available to you guys. Yes, espresso. Man, I have generally speaking, I have 4 shots of espresso, 2 doubles every morning when I first wake up. So that's how I start off my day. So I'm definitely with you on the espresso. One of my first jobs, believe it or not, was in a coffee shop in Oregon, and I was a barista. So I love espresso and coffee. All right, so we've been going for about an hour and 40 minutes. Do you guys have any other questions you can think of before we round off this stream? And I want to just say, because there's always a delay, I just want to say thank you everybody that's given me super chat stickers or super chats. Once again, I mean, I can't do this without your guys' support, and you guys, one, not just from a financial standpoint, but your support just being here with me. And I just can't tell you how much I appreciate you just from the interaction and, hitting me up on the different forums and chatting with me on the forums, and then hitting me up on my YouTube, leaving me comments. And now we have the community feature and, chiming in on the posts that I drop. To me, what makes this special to me reviewing gear is this interaction with you guys. I love listening to music. I love checking out different gear, but I wouldn't be nearly as passionate about it if I didn't have awesome group of people that I could interact with, and I just love that. So I appreciate all of you for that. Seriously, thank you. Yoga, yes, man. Dude, yoga's the bomb. I love yoga. I need to do it more often. I really do. I generally, what I start my day off with, like today, I had my 4 shots of espresso, my 2 doubles, and then what did I do? I think I watched a little bit of what was happening in the world, and then after that, I was like, I don't want to watch any more of that. And then I went straight. I have a rower in my garage. I have a Concept 2 rower, and then I rode for 45 minutes. So I do like a fasted cardio session, and I just row, and it's awesome. So I'm burning my calories, get my day started that way. So I don't do yoga first out, but I usually do yoga to cool down, but I like yoga. I need to do it more. Yes, Mark, if you can make it tomorrow, brother, please do. 1 p.m., same time, Pacific time, Los Angeles time zone. So, and we'll probably go for an hour and a half, 2 hours. I want to try to keep everything under 2 hours just because I have so much stuff to film and review, and I can get you guys out more reviews and edit. So I got a couple really cool edits I'm working on right now. Awesome. Well, I think with that, guys, if there's nothing else, we'll call it. We'll call it here. And I just want to say thanks again for all of you joining for this stream. Once again, if you missed this, you can always go back on the rewind and check out, about the Modi 3 Plus from Schitt Audio and the Topping E30. Just to recap those from what we talked about at the beginning of the stream, they're both great DACs. The E30 has a few extra features that the Modi 3 Plus doesn't have, with an overall maybe slightly warmer signature and a little bit more emphasis in the bass region. And the Schitt Modi 3 Plus has maybe an even keel, more refined sound with better overall staging depth and width and imaging. So both really cool. It's just different strokes for different folks. So whatever you want better is better for you. And you get some extra features like a remote with the Topping E30, and you get the Unison USB with the Schitt Modi 3 Plus. So really, it's just up to you. Which one's in stock, which one fits your budget, and which one would better fit the pair of headphones and amplifier that you have. So thank you, DP. Yes, don't forget, smash that like button. Every time you smash the like button, it definitely helps out the stream so more people can see it. Awesome. So we'll wrap up. Don't forget, tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is going to be when we're going to do the Echo Mark II version 2. Excuse me, Echo Mark II from Felix Audio. And that's this guy right over here. So, and I'll have some things moved around. I'll have this guy more front and center so you can see him tomorrow. But we're going to talk about what headphones I liked with it. Okay, we're going to talk about the sound signature overall of the Echo Mark II from Felix Audio, what headphones didn't play well with it, and, you know, what maybe music genres I also enjoyed with it. And then we're going to talk about, of course, build quality, overall sound quality, you know, all of my initial impressions, kind of what I do in my overall reviews, but maybe more early on, you know, where I haven't had as much time with it. So that way you can learn about it as soon as I get it. Awesome. Thanks, John. Sir, thank you, buddy, for coming. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for all your support. Thank you. Grumpy Goose. Thanks, man. Have a great weekend, Grumpy. Good to see you, man. Awesome. Thanks, Jay. We'll see you tomorrow. Appreciate you, buddy. Oh, John, thank you, man. It's not work. I mean, there's work to it, but when I got a great supporting community like you, it feels really good to do this work. So I appreciate it, buddy. With that, guys, I appreciate you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you guys all. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m., hopefully Pacific time, and we'll talk about the Felix Audio Mark II. Thanks, Anna Louise. Yeah, please rewatch it, and thank you so much for joining us. All right, guys. Until next time, until tomorrow, as always, much love.